Hey everyone! Long time no see. After vanquishing the monster that is my organic chemistry class, I hope to be uploading more regularly for a bit. And that starts with me crawling out of my cave to ramble about Ace Attorney again, because what else would it be? So, let's talk about Ace Attorney 7. For those who aren't too familiar with the series, the Ace Attorney franchise currently consists of 6 mainline games. There's a couple spin-offs and such, but the main line refers to the main story with Phoenix, Apollo, Athena, Maya, Edgeworth, etc. These games include the original Phoenix Wright trilogy, Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney, Justice for All, and Trials and Tribulations, and the recently remastered Apollo Justice trilogy, consisting of Apollo Justice Ace Attorney, Dual Destinies, and Spirit of Justice. Taking a look at the release dates for each game, we can see the last mainline entry, Spirit of Justice, came out in 2016. That means, as of the current year of 2024, it's been 8 years since we've gotten a mainline game. This is the longest the series has ever been without one, beating the previous record set by Apollo Justice in Dual Destinies, a 6-year gap. That's not to say the series is dead, though. One of the aforementioned spin-offs, The Great Ace Attorney, saw releases in Japan in 2015 and 2017, with a worldwide release of both games in 2021 under the title The Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. And the Apollo Justice trilogy was released a few months ago, in January 2024. Ace Attorney 7, though, has never gotten any official information. Spirit of Justice ended with an allusion to a dangling plot thread being resolved, so it's heavily implied there is more to come for the series. However, aside from an interview saying Ace Attorney will not be stopping as a franchise, and some unsubstantiated rumors, we've gotten no confirmation on the development of the next entry. So, where does that bring us now? Well, the Apollo trilogy was announced at last year's Capcom Showcase, on June 12, 2023, and this was the start for me. The reason I never got too excited for previous Capcom events, in regards to Ace Attorney at least, was because I suspected we would not get Ace Attorney 7 until we got a re-release of games 4 through 6. This is partly because, after the closure of the Nintendo 3DS eShop in March 2023, the only way to buy games 5 and 6, at least in the West, was on mobile. It just seemed too niche. What I was waiting for was not necessarily a trilogy, but at least for the games to be released on modern consoles, so that, alongside the original trilogy, one could easily play all the entries in the main series in preparation for this hypothetical 7th game. And that's exactly what we got, which finally leads me into my thesis statement. My prediction is that either this year, or next year at the latest, we will be seeing the announcement of Ace Attorney 7. Ace Attorney has been very active on social media compared to the past, and while, yes, this is to promote the Apollo trilogy, it also serves to create more buzz around the franchise and bring some life into it from the company. But when would this hypothetical announcement come? Well, I'm currently holding my breath for Capcom at the Summer Game Fest this month. I was unable to find any evidence of a Capcom showcase like last year, but from what I was able to find, this may be a similar thing, as it was stated they'll be making multiple announcements there. Either way, I'm going to be keeping my eye on every showcase and event Capcom announces games at for the foreseeable future to see if I'm right, or if I need to break out my clown makeup again. To close out this video, I'd like to go over what I would like to see, or what I predict, in Ace Attorney 7. I've chosen to divide my thoughts into 3 tiers, those being very possible, a reach, and only in my fanfics. The titles of each category are fairly self-explanatory in terms of how likely I think they are to actually happen. Also, the rest of this video will contain spoilers for the mainline series, so keep that in mind. Starting in the very possible tier, we have the return of Apollo. At the end of the last game, Apollo decided to stay in Kurain to take over Dirk's law firm. I have thoughts on this, But regardless, I think it's very likely he will be making an appearance in Ace Attorney 7. Not that Capcom is a stranger to locking characters in their basement, but my evidence for this is that the teaser at the end of Spirit of Justice implies the truth about him and Trucy's relationship will soon come to light. Kinda hard to do that if he's not there. As for how he'll be in the game, I honestly hope it's a return in the final case, like Edgeworth in Dual Destinies. I don't think Apollo needs that much focus in the rest of the game, and other characters should be allowed to have their time instead. I also don't think we'll be getting any cases in Kurine, since it was very much Spirit of Justice's gimmick, and I don't think they'd carry it past that game. But if they do, it might be one fairly unconnected case, like Turnabout Storyteller. I'm also going to put a visual upgrade in this category. While I do still think the games will be in 3D, I think they're going to look better, being developed for newer hardware and as the start of a potential new trilogy. I'm not sure how different it will look from Spirit of Justice, and I do hope they stick to what makes the Ace Attorney style appealing, but I do think some kind of graphical upgrade is at least probable. Next, I'm throwing my hat in the ring for a female prosecutor. Most games introduce a new prosecutor, and at the moment, we only have one woman in the entire mainline, that being Franziska, and she hasn't shown up since the original trilogy. I think it's time for a new one. Moving into the Reach category, we have Athena Sykes, Ace Attorney. Well, it makes sense that Phoenix and Apollo got their trilogies, and that the third main lawyer should be next in line. I have my doubts about this actually happening. Don't get me wrong, I think it's a great idea, but I also don't know if Athena is popular enough to carry a game on her own, and based on how she was horribly shafted in the last game, I don't think Capcom has faith in that either. What I do think is more likely, however, is a game with her and Phoenix at the helm. I know, some fans are very sick of Phoenix by now, after some believe he hijacked Apollo's trilogy with the names of games 5 and 6. Even though he was far and away the most intrusive to Apollo's story in the game Apollo was named after. But let's be honest with ourselves. Phoenix is popular. Phoenix is the main character of the franchise. Phoenix isn't going anywhere. I think they could take the route of putting Athena in as the main character if they're able to attach Phoenix to her as a partner. He'd still get a case or two as the playable lawyer, but this way I think it's a lot more likely to actually happen compared to them taking a total leap of faith on Athena. Another thing I'm putting in this category is the return of Franziska and/or Gumshoe. These two are the only two major trilogy characters who have yet to make a return after the 7-year time jump. They've both been referenced in passing, but never actually shown up. With them bringing back Larry Butts of all people in the latest DLC case, I think it's at least somewhat probable one or both of them show up. Especially since they're popular, and fan service is marketable, something they'd want in this new entry after so long without one. That said, I think the most likely outcome is them being in a DLC case, just like I previously mentioned with Larry. Anything's possible, but I think that's the most realistic outcome. Finally, we move into the only in my fanfics tier. This is going to be more of a rapid fire since I highly doubt any of this will happen, but hey, a girl can dream. Athena as a main character with Trucy as her assistant. I think these two could have a very fun dynamic, and I would love to see more of both of them. Clavier Gavin prosecutes a case again. Specifically Clavier versus Apollo in Kurine. Come on, he's a musician. Maybe you could put on a concert there, get roped into a case or something. Make it happen, Capcom. Let him out of the basement, please, please! Franziska versus Athena in a case. I think these two could have a really interesting dichotomy, especially if we give Franziska some development after the events of something like Investigations. Apollo moving back to America. Athena Sykes, Ace Attorney Trilogy. And finally, the judge being a defendant, because I think that idea is really, really funny. And that just about wraps everything up. We'll see what happens. This video could age very, very poorly, but I wanted to get it out anyway. Let me know your theories or hopes for Ace Attorney 7 in the comments. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.